Welcome back, this is M-Dog. It's been so long since I've caught a decent carp here at Amber that I decided I'd go ahead and make a video about this spot. If you are, like me, ready for some carp fishing in Amber, it's just been a long time. I have kind of stayed away. I have not enjoyed, ever since the last update, even though there's been a lot of rares coming out of Amber, the average carp size to me has just still been so low for the most part. And so I know that Amber at times will be better. So I've pretty much stayed away, which, you know, on one hand, you miss the opportunity to catch a lot of rare carps, which is unfortunate, but the way Amber typically is, and then, you know, rare carps occasionally being something that you catch, to me is a little bit more fun anyway. Instead of kind of sitting on a spot and catching tons of small carp and then occasionally having a rare and then hoping to get a rare that's a little bigger. And I don't know. I just haven't really enjoyed Amber that much lately. So, but we've got a 17, 18 kilo fish on right now, I think. So I've been tinkering with some things, and at least the way I'm experiencing Peg 1 right now, it does feel a little better. And I don't know if it's just the spot that's doing pretty good right now, or if it's some of the small adjustments I've made that maybe is making a little bit of a difference. But let's see what in fact we have on here. Mostly what I'm catching here are common carp, but there have been a few linears, a couple mirrors. I know that folks have been occasionally catching some of the rare varieties in this spot. This clearly is not a common, so let's see what it is. It's pretty fat. It's a pretty fat carp. That looks like a decent fish. So this is going to be a nice linear. Not quite trophy, but nice. 24.5 kilos. We'll take that any day of the week on happy hour especially. So let's catch a couple more fish, and then I will talk through what we're using right now. By the way, we are at Peg 1. That is about the direction we're casting. I am clipped at 35, and I am still using squid, which is been the best, if not one of the best. If it's not the best, it's been one of the best baits to be using here at Amber for quite a while. This looks like another linear, I think. I'm actually going to set this one down because I think I want to try an adjustment on that one. So the left and right rod, this one and the far left one, I have 2.0 hooks, but just 2 corn versus the 4 corn when you have 2 different flavors on there. Was that a frame? Wait, what was that? I don't think I've had a frame yet here today, if that's what this is. Clearly that is a frame, right? Okay. That's a different species from what I've caught here. So, real quick, see we've got the 2.0 hooks with the single corns. Yellow on the left, red on the far right. And the one in the middle I've got the double corn, but still using a 1.0, a regular 1 hook. I'm going to throw that back up to 2.0. Eventually, what I'd like to do is to be able to, even if it slows the bite rate down, to try to sit on this spot a little bit and try to focus on a little bigger fish. Theoretically, that might slow your silver per hour down, but I'm okay with just getting a little bit better fish. So let me get this in. I think the things I want to show you is kind of what we've caught in the last, I don't know, I think I've been here maybe, I reset to start happy hour after I confirmed that the spot was somewhat active. So we may have fished here a total of an hour and a half, something like that, maybe a little less. We should be able to tell from the net though. Okay. No, I'm way off. We've been here a total of 52 minutes, but that's with a break. So we've probably fished for about 35 minutes. So it's not bad. Like I said, mostly commons. And the largest common coming at 17, so that's not too terrible. They're getting a little bigger as we've made some adjustments. Just the one frame you saw, the one nice linear, and then a bunch of other linears, fairly small on average. And then really just one keeper mirror so far. But let's look at some of the things I'm messing around with here. The first thing I want to do is actually get this guide out. So I referred to this guide in the last video, and someone of course was like, you know, what guide could you post a link? And instead of posting a link, which I know I could do, and maybe I eventually will add the link to the video, but instead of giving you a fish, let me teach you how to fish. This is simply on the main forum for this game. So if you go to RF4 game and then go to the forum, like we've done here, all of the guides are going to be right here under gameplay. Okay, there's a place for guides. Go to staff guides. And this is the FAQ that came out this past week. El Whittieth posted it. Specifically, we're looking at the information about ground bait and PVA. If you are carp fishing or doing anything with a lot of heavy PVA, especially PVA, but ground bait as well, I would read through all of this. Not that I think it necessarily means you should immediately change everything you're doing, but for me at least, it's been worthwhile to try to understand some of the examples that they're giving and explaining how the mechanics work, and then seeing if I can implement some of those changes and noticing for myself, are they having the impact on fishing that, you know, it says that it will, that it theoretically should be having. And it's way too early to make that call. Way too often we take 1 hour of fishing and draw a bunch of conclusions. It's not near enough data. You know, if you've been playing this game for a long time, maybe you've got thousands of hours approaching PVA from one position. Well, don't just change something and then after an hour decide that that's now enough data to say anything definitive. But it's definitely an opportunity to start messing around with things. So 35 clip casting basically straight out here. The first few fish, and I don't know exactly where the change point is. I guess we can look at time. It's right here between 16 and 25 minutes. That's when I reset for happy hour. It's also when I changed up the PVA a little bit. And like I talked about in the last video, one of the changes I made was that I removed the base. Again, trying to see, can we try to target larger fish, even at the sacrifice of the bite rate? If this is a fairly hot spot to be fishing right now, can it withstand things like increasing the hook size and removing the base from the PVA? And then I also added a large particle to the PVA. Part of what I took away from the guide, one of the many things, is that the larger the particle you have in the feeding that you're doing of an area, the more you potentially attract larger fish. So let's look at this specific PVA that I made. All right, so here it is. So you see there's no base. Normally we would have cornflower as a base, right? I mean, that's kind of the meta right now, if you want to call it that. Cornflower base, squid attractant, and the most common thing you'll see is 4 additives of squid feed pellets. All I've done is taken one of those off and added, not crushed boilies, straight up boilies, a large deep squid 30 boilie. So again, there's a large particle that we're adding to the PVA, attempting to see if we can then turn that into a little bit larger fish, even at the sacrifice of bite rate. And I'm not going to say that it's working or it's not working because it's way too close to tell, right? The only thing that I know is that at least during the good part of the day, which was the morning, which is what we're coming out of now, we still had a reasonably good bite rate. We had less of the really small marker commons. When I first came here with the regular PVA, regular size hooks, single corn, I had, each of the 3 squid corns straight across all 3 rods. Yes, the bite rate is insane, but half of what you're catching are either, like that non-marker mirror that I showed you that we turned into fish pieces, or there were quite a few 2 to 3 kilo commons, those juveniles that just aren't worth anything. In fact, I just turn them straight into fish pieces. Even though they're markers, they're just so small they're not worth the silver. And so I'm not saying we won't catch any more of those. In fact, that's probably what this is now. And I suspect that in particular during, this isn't even a carp, this isn't even a common, this is a gibble. In particular during this hotter part of the day, probably from 1 or 2 p.m. till 6 p.m. or so, you will see less ideal fish on average. But it's just interesting to play around with. Let's see if I'm using 60 centimeter leaders. Looks like I am on those 2. And this one has 60 as well. So we've got the longest leader possible. I'll let you look it up, but there's also some information about what leader size does in these fishing opportunities. So yeah, we're just trying to see if we can learn anything from what was put in that guide that might actually help us not necessarily approach a fishing spot to get the best bite rate or even the most silver. I think if you're doing that with the way that amber is fishing right now, at the end of the day, you're still probably better off making a little bit cheaper PVA, using really whatever hook size you want. The hook size doesn't seem to impact bite rate, but if you just use single corn, you're catching fish so quick that your silver per hour is really nice, as long as you're not overspending on PVA too much. So let's go look real quick, because we've got less than an hour of fishing here, but always like to try to give you an idea of what we are looking at silver wise. We've turned in 2 cafe orders for about 90 silver, so that's in the mix. We've turned a bunch of small markers into fish pieces, so that needs to be in consideration. But overall, what's a ballpark of what we're making in the first hour of fishing on this spot? If you fish amber a lot, you know that hour per hour you are going to see a lot of variety if you stay in the same spot. But oftentimes that does pay off. Some of your larger fish might come out down the line. So we have 384, in less than an hour, 384 silver. It's not bad. I would argue that there's potential right now to make more silver at Bear, definitely more silver at that buffalo spot at the pond at Tuba that I showed you. But I'm glad to see that amber is in a position right now where a reasonable amount of silver can be made. And again, I haven't been here in a long time or spent much time here, so it's just fun to be back at amber. Definitely my favorite overall map, which it was always Volkov till amber came out. Now it's amber, but that's just because of how much I enjoy carp fishing. And yeah, it's just good to be able to come back and still expect to make a little bit. So this is interesting. This is on this middle line. I think eventually what I will do is see what it does. After this video, I think what I'll do is actually move all of my lines to this setup. We're going to go 4 corn, red, yellow, straight across with 2-0 hooks, and just see if, even though the bite rate will be a lot slower, see if we can't sit on this spot for a little bit and maybe catch a trophy something. I don't know. I think it's possible. And we will eventually get a rare here if we stay long enough. I mean, they are in these waters for sure. And using this bait combination with squid seems to be bringing them out. But we could have just had an unlucky hour. I wouldn't be surprised from what I'm seeing from other people. I wouldn't be surprised if you average, you know, 1 rare per hour still here. And this is what we're really wanting to avoid. Even if it hurts us overall on silver or XP per hour, I'm just not interested in you know, catching a very high percentage of 2 kilo commons. So if there's something we can do to avoid that, but still make some silver and have a chance to see a little bit better fish, then I'm all for it. But from what I'm seeing here, this is a very small linear. From what I'm seeing here, I still don't think amber is quite where I would want it to be to draw me back spending as much time as I sometimes do here. But it continues to change day by day, week by week. And I'm definitely keeping an eye on it because I'm starting to feel more and more in the mood to be back fishing amber. Okay, I hope this has been helpful. I'm really curious if you all are experimenting more with the PVAs, the feeding. That's the other thing I should mention. When I first got to this spot, I actually had a minnow dip on this middle line and the craft squid corn. And when I first cast out, I actually threw out a stringer with, I must have used the last of them, amino pellets on there. So again, that was sort of, the idea there was let's just see what's in this spot right now. So I wanted to throw out a little bit more neutral bait flavoring and see what all types of fish would come in. And then, but because I knew that someone had gotten the, I think it's a frame-sided ghost. Here, let me look real quick. I'll show you how my brain worked with this spot. It's a frame-sided ghost. Someone caught a really nice one. Here, it wasn't a trophy. It was just a really nice one. So I wanted to look at the weeklies. What are the frame-sideds coming out right now? Kind of went down this list. It's all going to be squid stuff, as you can see. Most of it's single squid, though. Now, the reason why I think most of it's single squid is because that's what most people are fishing with. If they're fishing amber right now, most folks are using squid or strawberry. And not as many people are fishing amber as they typically are, because there's just been a lot of other good spots in the game, and amber hasn't quite been up to par, and it's been so samey for a while now. So that was my thinking. That's how I landed on eventually doing double squid with a PVA that's going to try to draw out the larger fish, targeting frame-sided ghost based on what I've seen on the weeklies. Now, I don't know that all of those frame-sided ghosts were caught here. I just know of one, but we'll see. Thanks for watching. Right after I stopped recording the last video at the Octuba Pond, I pulled out a buffalo trophy. So I'm really hoping as soon as I let y'all go at the end of this video, we're going to get a really nice frame-sided ghost. This came out yesterday, right after the video. I should have recorded 5 more minutes and it had been really exciting. That's the way it goes sometimes. Let me know how your fishing's going. Thanks so much for watching. And if you can, stop by Twitch, MDog Gaming. Should be streaming Wednesday night. Look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks so much.